Hello, welcome to the Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast, as voted on by us, the hosts of the Back Podcast, Australia's favourite gaming podcast. It's Monday, the 17th of October, 2022. I'm Nick Richardson, and today I'm joined by Peter No Helmet Burns.
Whoa, look at, you can see my hair.
And last time I saw this man, he was scoffing a 2 a.m. pizza before Pete and I got pulled over by the cops. He's also packing its Indie Mouse.
Whoa, you can see my hair.
Good. You can't see my hair, so there you go.
Oh, you can't actually see my hair. It's been cropped off. Never mind.
A little bit.
How are you, buddy? Welcome back to the show.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back. It's been... When was the last time Elden Ring? I don't know months. I just know when Elden Ring released. So it was whenever Elden Ring released.
Oh,
Yeah,
right.
I thought been around that time.
I thought you meant as far, but the furthest back you could remember is when Elden Ring released. So it's like, okay, so it's somewhere between Elden Ring and today.
yeah. It's a busy month, but it's been going good.
It has been going good. We caught up at PAX, which was a delight. And then we went, we got to have him back on the show because we didn't talk enough about dumb video game news. We spent a lot of time. What did we talk about? I can't even remember. It was very early in the morning. So, but
it was boring stuff.
It was 3 a.m.
boring
conversations.
Oh, so boring. That's right. Yeah, it was so bored that your cousin just started drawing things. Which I still have here.
You still have? I still got one of them around here somewhere.
My favorite one is to Gus, draw a hairy cock, Nick Boy. And I don't know what he drew, but it's certainly not what I asked for. But it's sick. Good. All right. Well, there you go. That's an insight into a bunch of in-jokes that you weren't a part of, audience. Welcome. Thrilled to have you back here. Pete, should we just crack on? Because we've got a bunch of stuff to talk about.
Sure, why not?
The news is going to break itself. The Backup is presented by one of our top stitch patrons, the best evil person we know, the lady that made Liam eat that pizza on the street like an animal.
Hey, that was good. That's not evil at all. That was a real good pizza.
No, it was a good pizza, but she was like, you can't bring that pizza.
Oh, yeah.
We serve food. And it's like, it's 2 a.m. in the morning and there's literally no one else in here. Like, who are we hurting? It's a victimless crime. But that's fine. It was a good pizza. I regretted not getting the pizza, Pete, because the pepperoni was underneath the cheese and I thought that was a real innovation.
Yeah, it was a novel idea for sure.
Yep.
And it reminded me of that TikTok that went around. And I'm hip with the kids. I know the TikToks.
Yep.
You know how you can duet on TikTok? Someone records video and then someone duets it. So they watch it and they basically commentate to it. And it was like some Philadelphia deep dish fucking pizza or some bullshit. And then there was a guy who was very like pro, like classic Italian pizza. He's like, there's not enough cheese on that pizza.
Mm-hmm.
There's not enough cheese on that pizza. And then the other guy was responding, it's under the sauce. And then, so apparently Philadelphia, they put sauce over the cheese. In Melbourne, they put cheese over the pepperoni.
Yep.
We literally took it back and said, you forgot our pepperoni. And they said,
Did you really?
Yeah. And he said, no, we didn't. It's you should check under the cheese, brother.
Yeah, which is not what you normally do. It's interesting. No. Yeah, there's so much debate about it's all the same shit, just in a different order. It can't change the taste that much. Anyway, we're still in the fucking intro to the Backup. I mean, Evil Spy Boy, get your exclamation mark Spy Boys out of the chat because thanks to his generous Patreon support, Evil Spy Boy is bringing you the Backup and he's hoping you bring the generosity to Food Bank Australia. Food Bank provides regular breakfasts with covered in cheese to more than 132,000 students at schools across the country. And on top of this, more than 200,000 kids seek food relief from their charities every single month. Donate at foodbank.org.au. There's a link in Nightbar. Head to tasteofmultifish.com for more information about Evil Spy Boy's proclivities, which should include some sort of cheese, pizza, pepperoni situation. Let's back up and look at the biggest stories of the week as voted on by us, the host of The Backup, where we back up and look at the biggest stories of the week. And Liam, please start us off with the story that made you back up and say, hey, that's a pretty big and weird story.
Sure. I don't know why this one made me back up, because it seems to be a more common theme that voice actors are getting screwed over in media and gaming one way or another. But if you're a fan of Bayonetta, you know that Helena Taylor has been voicing the main character of Bayonetta for the first 2 games and was a pretty pivotal part in making that role, or that character who it is. So when Platinum announced that she wouldn't be reprising her role due to scheduling conflicts, they said it sucked, but whatever, everyone moved on pretty quickly. But recently, Helena tweeted out the real reason for not reprising her role, and it was that she was going to be paid $4,000 to voice the entire video game, and she said no. So they said, okay, we're going to replace you then. And that was pretty much the tweet. She had a nice little video explaining it much better than any of us could. And she said that everyone should be boycotting Bayonetta 3 and that everyone should be donating that money to charity instead. So she's gone for a good cause. But my first response was, I can't believe that I can get paid more for a 60-second Raid Shadow Legend ad read than an actress gets for an entire video game. It's incredibly fucked up. But yeah, will you guys be boycotting Bayonetta 3, or are you like me and the reason you're not buying it is because you didn't finish 2?
Because it's Bayonetta 3.
Yeah, true.
Yeah. No, I am going to now say that I was so keen for Bayonetta 3, and my choice to not purchase it is
because we're all moral human beings.
Activism. No, I was not particularly interested in it, but I do absolutely hear that Taylor's performance was so an integral part of making Bayonetta stand out as a character. The contrast between what that character is in the world that they're in and that posh British accent was so striking.
Yeah.
It was a really cool choice. She's such a good performer. Like she's got, she's such a classic British, very clear diction, and in the mess of all this was such a nice contrast. So a really like powerful performance, and just utter disrespect that figure, right? Like
it's ridiculous
in a franchise that maybe the first game you go, this is just a nominal fee. We don't know if this game's going to work. It's going to take, even for the first game, it must have been like days of voice recording. So it's an insult.
The Raid Shadowland joke is, or whatever the fuck that game's called, is a hilarious in-joke for anyone who works at games, because we all get that email 40 times a week asking to do that sponsored spot. But like legit, even for the first game, like I've been paid more to do the dumbest shit that took me 30 seconds. Like it's ridiculous. It is ridiculous. Like that is it. I actually thought it was a typo how low they were talking. I would have thought like 40 grand would be low to do this, because it is like you said, it is pivotal to the character. It is as important to the character. And the problem with voice acting, the problem with people who hire voice actors is that it's like, it is true that you can be more easily replaced than anybody else. And so therefore you can get someone like Jennifer Hale, who they've got to replace Bayonetta's voice, is to come in and go like, okay, well you could do British, right? Can you sound like a posh British lady? Because basically you can now do the game.
I feel really bad for her now after all this is gone. Like she just took a job and now she's probably going to get absolutely flamed online for it. Yeah.
But it is really weird. Like I don't think there was any mention of like royalties and stuff as well, which I was confused by, as to like, okay, well you take the $4,000, but you know the game's going to sell really well and you get a piece of the back end and blah, blah, blah. Maybe that's not how it works. Maybe that's not how it works in Japan. Like, I don't know too much about the intricacies of voice acting in video games particularly, but it is, I think it's pretty appalling. It is shockingly low, and I think it's really cool that she came out and sort of said this, because I think that it's one of those things that would happen so often of people being like, oh, that's not enough money. Okay, we're just going to replace you with someone else. But she actually chose to make a stand.
Yeah. I think chat is on to, Lord Chad said, if they aren't willing to pay her $4,000, how they able to afford Jennifer Hale, and absolutely there's no way Jennifer Hale did this for $4,000. She's one of the kind of premier voice artists, the most recognizable names in voice performance in video games. And Confused a Kid in his response to that was, it feels like they lowballed Helena so that they could reject her and get Jennifer Hale instead. Go through the motions. That was their due diligence, was forcing someone out so they could bring the other person they really wanted in, which is like
that's even fucking worse, isn't it?
Yeah, it's disgusting business practice.
Yeah,
it seems highly likely.
Yeah, and also because I'm just looking at her credits now, and like beyond Bayonetta, she doesn't have too much else. So it's like she was in a couple of TV shows and stuff, but it's like in terms of like credited listing, she doesn't have too much, so she doesn't have too much sway, which I think is really crap because it's like no one's coming to play the game because of Jennifer Hale now. No. So it's like, why pay her? Why we assume that they would pay her more just because she's more well known within the industry. But that doesn't mean that she's necessarily giving a better performance because the first two were great. Yeah, super weird. And also the tweet so she came out and like posted the videos sort of explaining the situation. Excuse me. So she said that she had approached Hideki Kamiya, who was the executive director on the game, and she basically like played her case to him. And he said that he acknowledged the importance of the role and how much it would mean to fans to have her, but still stuck firm with the 4,000. And then after she put out her statement, then he tweeted out, "Sad and deplorable about the attitude of untruth. That's all I can tell now. By the way," and then all capital letters, "beware of my rules," which is like a Bayonetta villain got on Twitter.
This is viral marketing or something.
It's an incredible, and again, there's language barriers and everything, and people think that "beware of my rules" is referencing the fact that he blocks people all the time. So it's basically like, if you come and like argue with me about this, I'm just going to block you on Twitter. But it really sounds more like he's threatening her.
Like someone keep an eye on her over the next week, just in case.
100%. Yeah, it's a very strange story, and it is sad that this is the state of voice acting. When you go, voice acting is voice acting is important in everything, but in video games, it's kind of like it is that and animation riggers who are actually giving the performance. Those two people should be paid like actors, essentially.
Agreed. Platinum Games have just been dropping the ball lately, haven't they? They used to be such like a prestige company, and just with all their flop games like Babylon's Fall and stuff, it just I don't know what the hell they're doing anymore.
Yeah, they were
they seem a bit
bangers before, but
lost for sure.
So yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this falls out. I think that the boycott thing is not going to do too much. I think that most people will just not engage with it. But I think it's really brave of her to come out and stand up, because I feel like most of the time, whenever we talk about voice acting with video games, we're talking about Nolan North, we're talking about Jennifer Hale. Like, we're just talking about the really famous ones who give really good performances and are really charming, and we like them on podcasts and stuff. And for something like this, where you go, oh no, this is actually like how the industry is working, and it's not like, oh, I'm just a really successful voice actor, then that's shitty. But I really laud her for standing up and actually saying something. Peter.
And yeah, if anything good came out of this story, During PC has nailed it, that beware of my rules is going to be included in their day now. Yes, but beware of my rules.
Love that. Love that. Peter Burns.
Yes, sir. Silent Hill. It's official. Something's happened. We don't know exactly what, but there is officially something happening that is Silent Hill and isn't just some small Eastern European development studio lying about making Silent Hill games with Hideo Kojima.
Yeah.
A tweet went out overnight on Silent Hill. Is it called Silent Hill Official, their Twitter channel? I think it is. Yeah. Silent Hill Official, at Silent Hill. In your restless dreams, do you see that town? ? The latest updates for the Silent Hill series will be revealed during the Silent Hill transmission on Wednesday, October 19th, which will actually be Thursday, 8 a.m. Australian Eastern Daylight Time. So Thursday morning, we're going to get an official Silent Hill announcement. And but says probably NFTs.
Yeah, he's fuck. He could be not far off.
Yeah. So, obviously Silent Hill is this undying concept. It's been over a decade since the last game, but we just constantly hear murmurs about there's a Silent Hill game in development over here, there's a Silent Hill game in development over there. there was last month there was an appearance of something called Silent Hill: The Short Message, which popped up on the Korean video games rating board. And then there's been the rumors that Bloober Team, the guys that made Laser Fear and The Medium, making a Silent Hill 2 remake. So there's plenty of fuel for the fire, and I wonder if any of that's going to be true. We'll find out on Thursday morning. Now, Liam.
Yep.
You're a fucking Silent Hill fiend.
Yep.
Absolutely. Yes. I think we were talking before the show, so I hadn't seen this tweet until you guys pointed it out. Reading it now, though, the first line is very specific to Silent Hill 2.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking this might be the 2 remake instead of a new game, but again, it might be like a full set of new things. Look, it's always exciting to hear every Silent Hill rumor ever, but to see it actually announced, I don't know how I feel, because it's a 2 remake. They could absolutely just fuck it up, and like that's the legacy of Silent Hill now. Even though the legacy has been getting tarnished every single thing they ever released back in like the 360 era. I had to play one of them recently for my channel, the Downpour. I think it was the most recent, which was a 360 game, and it was just not great. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't what Silent Hill was, which is a very specific small team of people, Team Silent, like just having their ideas come out of their head and make these incredibly messed up games, and to have like just a different set team walk in. I know that they have one of the art leads that was on some of the previous games, but I think he was on Downpour as well, so it didn't matter. Yeah, I'm not sure on that, but he has been a part of some of the other stuff. But Silent Hill is more of an idea now than me thinking that it's going to be like, oh, they're bringing it back, like they can find that original team that made all the good ones. So optimistic, but very cautious about a new Silent Hill game for sure.
I wonder if Silent Hill can work anymore.
Yeah.
To me, so much of like Silent Hill and early Resi was the kind of clunkiness of the systems was a part of the experience of the horror of it.
Yeah.
Of like the kind of the process of navigating it all and inventory management and all that stuff is all a part of what made it effective, and these days feels dated. And so to when you go to give it a modern twist, you end up with things like The Evil Within, which I think are good. I don't think they necessarily reach the heights of the best of Resident Evil or Silent Hill, but or you get an Alan Wake, which is a narrative-driven thing and an effective narrative, but also maybe like a 7 for gameplay, but a 9 for story. And then you're like, okay, so you got a middling 8 kind of thing. I don't know that we'll ever see another 10 out of 10 Silent Hill game. And I think that it's probably because the indie development scene services horror so well now.
Yeah.
And you can forgive. They're in the same situation that Silent Hill was as a AAA game all those years ago, of going like, we can forgive the little like discrepancies of like awkward gameplay here or something stupid over here, because the experience as a whole is brilliant. And that's what indie games can deliver. And if this has to deliver a AAA Silent Hill experience, I don't know what that is.
There's just something off about knowing a Silent Hill game coming out that it has to hit like a sales target. That doesn't feel right to me for like the idea of Silent Hill. But you're right, indie games are reaching those really messed up horror stuff because it's just a small team of like 3 people, and they're like, oh, we have really fucked up ideas, let's turn that into a video game. It's different now that a big team would be saying that Resident Evil 2 remake was very good, very, very good, and I think it kind of replaced Resident Evil 2 for a lot of people. So if we could get something on the lines of that, it's not going to happen because Konami are a nightmare. But that would be really cool to get like Silent Hill 2 remade as if like Resi 2 was remade. But that's like a pipe dream. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, because I'm looking at Konami's releases, and we all know how just fucked that company has become. And it's like, the two things that I would say border on notable are this year we got the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Cowabunga collection, quite well received, but a bunch of old games. And then 2018 we got Metal Gear Survive, which was atrocious. And 2015 we got Metal Gear Solid 5: The Phantom Pain, which was amazing but unfinished and tore us under the best working relationship that Konami ever had. So it's like when you say because I think that. I mean, it leaks a bit into my story, which is about Witcher and Cyberpunk. Like the thing at the moment, it feels like, is you don't just announce a game. You announce we're doing a game and we're doing a remake and we've got this downloadable thing and we're making a TV show and there's a comic
The Marvel effect.
Totally, like just going like we are franchising this thing. And if Konami have an interest in being earnest about video games, which it doesn't really feel like they ever have. Or they have recently, then they would do that. But also, if they just want to cash in, then a 2 remake seems like the best possible option. But then the standards for like what you could do with a remake compared, like there's the Last of Us version and the Resi 2 version, that sort of thing, which are like the top tier. Or there's just like we've kind of just like polished this up a bit and made it playable on your system. And
You mean what they did last time?
What they did last time?
The HD collection, yeah.
100%. And it's like if they just did that again with this announcement where they're at least teasing an announcement, I don't know, that feels like a bit of a letdown. So I want to believe, and also like I've never played a Silent Hill game. I was never really into horror games when I was a kid. I played Resident Evil 1 and 2 and that was about it. So I'm ready to be fucked up by what looks to be weirdos wearing traffic cones, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a thing? Yep. Is that the main thing?
That's all the game is. That's what we love.
That's the whole game. Okay, that's what we love. Cool.
Stop making
2022. I was about to say 2022. How scary do I find that? But yeah, so I would be interested in a really great remake. But yeah, I like if anyone else's name other than Konami was attached to this, that I would be like, oh, cool. Like we're probably getting a decent announcement. And this is like, I don't know whether or not you'll get the video to play properly.
Well, I think if Bloober Team are attached, I think they're really competent. The medium I thought was brilliant in most ways, except for just like a really 15 years ago representation of mental health.
Yeah.
But in all other ways was a really solid game with some cool new ideas and some cool ideas taken from Silent Hill.
Yeah,
so
pretty much.
I think if we had that engine and kind of their approach attached to Silent Hill 2, that would be awesome. We have to call out Pink Cat.
We have to. I was about to go.
Do you know Pink Cat, Andy Mouse?
No. As he said.
Okay, so here's a first-time chat from Pink Cat 69. Okay, guys, first-time chat. Just had to say, the guy on the left with the moustache looks like he makes absolutely insane lasagna. Just seems like he knows his way around pasta sheets.
Yeah.
Pink Hat, what an absolute lad of a first chat.
Do you make a lasagna?
No, he is completely wrong. I've never made a lasagna in my life. Sorry, Pink Hat.
Imagine
see him
people. Imagine people looking at you and going, "Wow, that guy really knows his way around the sheets," and you're like, "Thank you." And it's like, "No, the pasta sheets, the pasta sheets."
And I'm like, "Oh, thank God."
Oh God, no pressure. Good. Okay. If only we all said something that good as our first entrance into anyone's Twitch chat.
Or just in general. I wish I said anything that good ever.
Totally. Yeah. Definitely. Next time we meet up, you have to bring a lasagna. It's now just expected.
Right.
My story that made me back up this week is, it happened a little bit ago, but it's still been spoken about because we didn't do a show last week, which is CD Projekt Red announcing a ton of new Witcher games and a Cyberpunk sequel. So CD Projekt Red, obviously, have spent the last... Obviously. Yeah, no, there was more. I didn't just stop at CD Projekt Red. Even though I did forget their name there for a second, so it clearly wasn't that obvious. CD Projekt Red obviously have spent the last couple of years in crisis mode, recovering from the launch of Cyberpunk, and now have put the game at a point where a lot of people seem particularly happy about it, and Pete was happy about it at the beginning. So Pete's like, why the fuck did you spend all the time doing that? I was happy right from the get-go.
I wanted more content.
Yeah.
Forget everything other than me and my 3090 and just give me more experiences, guys.
Exactly. But they kind of went dark for a while. Earlier in the year, they announced that they were working on a new Witcher game, and they have now come out and confirmed that they are working on 5 new Witcher games, a trilogy of which will be released within the span of 6 years in a announcement that is so incongruous with the way that they have also come under fire for culture crunch culture over the last 2 years. And then, like, by the way, 3 enormous open world games will launch in 6 years. There will be 2 more games after that. So we've got the first post-Witcher 3 game is codenamed Polaris. It will be followed by 2 more sequels as part of a trilogy. So all 3 of those games delivered within a 6-year period. That means that it might take 5 years for the first game to come out, but once that first game hits, then we'll get one 3 years later and another one 3 years after that. I'm here to tell you right now, that is not what is happening. There is no way that is happening. That's not going to happen. But it sounds great on an investment call. There will be 2 additional Witcher games as well, one codenamed Sirius and one codenamed Canis Majoris. So they're all codenamed after constellations, which is very majestic and also means nothing. That will be the Flame and the Flood developer, the Molasses Flood, and an external unnamed studio will be the ones managing those 2 games. We don't know too much about those games, other than the fact that the first one, which is Sirius, is set in the Witcher universe and will feature multiplayer gameplay on top of a single-player experience. And then the latter one is described as a full-fledged Witcher game, which, again, I don't need it to mean anything, but it's like, yes, that's why you're telling us about it, because otherwise you wouldn't talk about this thing. So those games are all coming out. And on top of that, they announced a sequel to Cyberpunk 2077, codenamed Project Orion. They said that it will take the Cyberpunk franchise further and continue harnessing the potential of this dark future universe. But they have said that the first games off the rank coming up are the first 3 Witcher games, which means if we get, like, if it takes 5 years to develop the first game, they're then going to do another 6 years to put out the next 2 games. That's like 11 years until the Cyberpunk sequel starts.
It'll be 2077.
It will be 100%. This kind of took me by surprise, because I was just like, for a team that have been burnt so much by setting expectations, they really launched with setting some pretty heavy expectations, Peter.
Yeah, they've set themselves up to fail in the exact same way that they did with Cyberpunk, where they released that cool, like, teaser, and 7 years later, it was like, this thing's coming out whether the game's ready or not, because we said it would be. You know, they delayed it, sure, but they kept building anticipation around this thing that was undercooked, and now they've just set a roadmap of that just screams there's not enough time. Yeah. So look, I hope they have way better systems in place. They have enough staff that everyone can work at a comfortable pace and get this stuff made, and maybe even meet those deadlines, because it sounds great for people who love playing their games, but it seems so unrealistic from everything we understand about game development, which, to be fair, is very little.
Yeah, because we only just learned that voice actors get paid $4,000.
$4,000?
This is it's too much. It's like, just announce one game when it's almost finished. I don't know if it's just part of getting old, but whenever I see the full lineup of, like I said before, the Marvel, here's the next 14 movies over the next 40 years, I'm just tired. I'm so tired.
I won't be alive for that last one.
How do I know? Like, I'm not going to see how Avengers 13 ends. I'm going to be dead. So thanks for letting me know that I won't see how it ends. Just
totally, yeah.
It's hard to be excited for things that don't exist right now, as far as we know, and are going to come out in 6 years if we're lucky. Like
this guy. Sorry, I've only just noticed in this footage, this guy's using a PlayStation dev kit to prop up his monitor.
Amazing.
He must have been paid $4,000.
Yeah, it's wild. To me, it really just screamed, we need to shore up our investors and go, don't worry, everything is fine with the studio. I'm sure that everything is fine with the studio because as much like it, I was reading before it cost them like $51 million the launch of Cyberpunk in returns, refunds, the systems that they had to put in place. Like they basically lost $51 million just launching that game, but they also made like $500 million launching that game. So it kind of all balances out. So I think they're probably fine, but this is just one of those things where it's going to investors. Hey, we got tons coming down the pike right now. And it's going to be good. All of this sounds really good. I'm super interested in the new Witcher trilogy, I think, because the last ones felt so disjointed to me. Like they're
three very distinct games.
Yeah, three games really. Built on. It feels like different. I mean, yes, built on different tech, but it just feels like different. It's the jump from Assassin's Creed 1 to Assassin's Creed 2 happening 3 times over the course of a gameplay experience. But the one significant thing that they did come out and say is that they're moving to Unreal Engine. And so that apparently is part of the thing that will help them streamline this process. They're not going to be using their own development tools. They're going to be using Unreal. So it's kind of like once the grunt work is done making the first game, you've created a lot that should be able to be relatively moved to new games more seamlessly using Unreal than it would have been before, which I'm sure is true. I just 100% know that none of this is going to come out when they say it's going to come out. And yes, I agree that it's very weird that I've been told that I'm getting a sequel to a game that I won't play for at least 10 years.
And that is a sequel to a game that you still also haven't played.
100%.
Yeah. It's like a trilogy. Here's the third one. I'm like, I don't know what the first one was about. I mean, I'm very excited. I love Witcher. I'm like Pete. I liked Cyberpunk as well because I played it on PC. So the problems were very minimal. And the anime that they just released was very, very good as well. So like, I'm very excited for these games. Just I'm not excited at a code name on a PNG. So we'll see when like we get a trailer and we can actually see how it plays and stuff. Because there's just so many other games to play and that are going to come out during those 6 years that we can play like immediately, and we'll just play those when they come out. It's like it's fun.
Yeah. The one thing that they announced that is very close is the Cyberpunk expansion, which is Phantom Liberty, and it's going to be coming out next year. It won't be coming to last gen consoles. It'll just be coming to like current gen and PC. But that is a story-based expansion that apparently there's like a couple of hundred people in the studio working on that right now. So they're putting a lot of work into that. And for a while there, it was like, I don't know whether or not that's going to make it. But I think given the renaissance that Cyberpunk is having over the last couple of months, then it is exciting for a lot of people that will be dropping. And we can play that, and then we'll play this other shit around at the same time we get Elder Scrolls or something.
Yep.
How depressing. All right, that is it. That is literally all the video game news they have this week. There's nothing else you need to know.